You know, the story just continues to surprise and confound. As you know, I was down in Peru last week, in fact, standing in Joran's prison. I saw him, I tried to talk to him, but sometimes it's much easier to get someone to talk to you without all the lights and cameras, and that's exactly what a Dutch newspaper reporter was able to do down there yesterday. In an exclusive interview with the Dutch newspaper Telegraaf, Joran is quoted as saying, "I have been framed." He claims that when he was arrested, he was promised that if he signed some papers, he would be extradited back to his homeland, the Netherlands. During the interrogations, I was frightened and confused, he says. I wanted to leave. In my blind panic, I signed everything, but I didn't even know what was written down. As we reported at the time of his arrest, Joran appeared confused before signing some police documents. He even asked his interrogators, "This only says I understand what my rights are, correct?" The news comes as Joran's mother is making headlines of her own. For the first time, Anita van der Sloot admits to the Telegraaf that her son could have killed Stephanie Flores. "I will not visit him in his cell," she says. "I cannot embrace him." It's a far cry from what this loving and emotional schoolteacher said about her son 5 years ago.
I told him that we all love him, his family, his friends, his teachers, everybody supports him. We all believe for 200% that he's innocent.
Now she says her son is psychologically disturbed. The sweet kid who loved animals and his grandma, she says, was traumatized when he was wrongfully accused in the Natalie Holloway case, and then further traumatized when his father died suddenly. He was draped over his coffin crying, "It was my fault, Papa. I gave you a heart attack." From there, she says, Joran spiraled into an abyss. He was depressed and started gambling. Poker was no longer a game, she says. He couldn't stop. He was addicted. Down in that prison in Lima a few days ago, I tried to get some answers from Joran himself.
So, Joran, we're with ABC News in the U.S. Joran, you have anything to say to us, Joran?
Prison guards tell me Joran now sits alone in this archaic cell, reading and watching TV. In his Telegraaf interview, Joran complains that at night, rats climb into his cell through his toilet, which is nothing more than this hole in the floor. His mother, 5 years ago.
I cannot imagine Joran to be involved in any bad, negative occurrence.
His mother today. It's time to let him go, she says. I cannot cry for Joran. If he killed Stephanie, then he will have to carry the burden of that. He who commits a crime has to pay. So there you have it. Joran's mother claiming he was psychologically affected. Joran himself saying he was tricked into signing those papers during his interrogation. Legal experts say it all sounds like he's starting to prepare a defense strategy. The fact is, they say, the evidence, those surveillance tapes, the murder scene, and yes, that confession, all that evidence is overwhelming, and there's little chance that a judge down in Lima will grant him any sympathy or leniency. Robin?
It does appear that way, John. Thank you. For more now, we're joined by one of America's top forensic psychiatrists, Dr. Michael Wellner. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
Good to have you here. No surprise for many that he is now taking back his confession and saying he was coerced into doing it. What do you make of all this, Michael?
Well, he has a voice, and he has a mountain of evidence against him, and he realizes that the confession was very damaging to him, not only with his legal situation, but with his own family. So I would expect him to do this.
You've not met him personally, but you know his history. You've been following the story for 5 years like many of us have. What do you make of him?
You know what? We don't know his history. I'll tell you what we know about him. We know that Stephanie Flores was brutally murdered. We don't know why. We know what he says why.
Right.
We know Natalie Holloway is dead. We know it's quite possible that he killed 2 young women in 2 countries with no accountability. We don't know what he was doing between those times. We don't know if he resembles other people who in the United States go from state to state. Maybe he went from country to country because he had the financial means to do so and because he had a mother and a support system that said, my son can do no wrong.
We don't know him well. His mother?
I think there's a lot we don't know about Joran van der Sloot, and he's shown us there's a lot we don't know about.
And what can we believe and not believe? He says one thing and the other. But you're right that we don't know his true history. We just know what he lets us know. Presumably his mother knows a bit more. We see with John Quinones 5 years ago standing by her son, now in essence saying, I'm done with him. What do you make of that?
You know, Robin, In my professional experience, you expect a mother to defend and be loyal to her son. I'm going to be interviewing this week in Texas a mother of someone who committed a heinous murder, and I expect her to be loyal to her son. That's what mothers do, and she will visit him in time. But the proud family, the proud mother, endures the humiliation of a community that looks at an otherwise respectable parent and says, how could this happen on your watch? How could this happen on your watch? You had a troubled kid. Even if he wasn't responsible for Natalie Holloway, he was in a situation that cast him under suspicion. And now this? How can this happen on your watch? And this not only happens in my professional experience with parents, but also spouses. When one spouse kills the children, Andrea Yates, Rusty Yates, his first response, how could you kill my children? He said to Andrea Yates. And then, when the TV cameras came, she was psychotic. And so, if a parent, if a loved one doesn't rally around and say, he's sick, well, then the next question is, well, if he's not sick, what were you doing?
Why didn't you do something?
What were you doing?
Yeah.
How come you, as the person closest to this individual with such lethal potential, didn't stop it?
The mother said, even now, that she doesn't believe he had anything to do with Natalie Holloway's disappearance, and that because he was followed so closely that he had a kind of like a break, that something happened to him. Then his father recently died, and we know that he was crying on his father's coffin saying, oh, I'm so sorry, feeling guilty. And the mom saying, all this combined could have pushed him over the edge. You buying any of that?
Look, people mourn their parents all the time, and they're not homicidal. Homicidal people who then choose to kill, what's happening in their life when they kill again? And that's the question that if Joran van der Sloot allows anyone to really get to know him and knows everything about his history and whatever he did with Natalie Holloway. Look, his father didn't die before Natalie Holloway disappeared. And so the mourning, sure, he may have been sad, but people don't kill because they are in mourning. They kill for other reasons and other motivations.
You think we'll ever find out about Natalie Holloway, that he'll ever tell the truth?
It's all about leverage, and that's where this confession comes in, and that's where negotiations come in. I am sure that given Peru's reputation, he would love to go back to Aruba, and that may be a negotiating point. But I'm also sure that Peru, given the attention to their legal system, and whether it's harsh and whether it's brutal, hey, they have an opportunity to show the world the rule of law. And I don't know that they're going to let go of that opportunity very soon. But it's going to give us an opportunity to have a window into van der Sloot because Peru recognizes itself under scrutiny, just like Joran van der Sloot.
We appreciate the opportunity talking to you, Dr. Michael Wellner. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again. Have a good day. Thanks.